Today's notes are actually really long, so this might be a long video, but you can pause it at different spots. And if you have any questions during it, don't be afraid to raise your hand and have me come over. But to get started, there's only a couple fill in the blanks. So dividing whole numbers and dividing by whole numbers. So dividing whole numbers, you should already know how to do. 17, 18, and 19. Dividing by whole numbers when there's a decimal involved is what you might not know how to do yet. But go ahead. So this is supposed to say 2. But to divide whole numbers, you must multiply and subtract. So subtract goes right here. And then do not forget to place in the decimal when it's needed. Let's see. Okay. So you should know how to do 17, 18, and 19. 5 does not go into 3, but 5 does go into 38. Not evenly, but 5 times 7 would give you 35. And then after you do that, you have to subtract. So now you're looking at 38 minus 35. That gives you 3. Drop down your 5. And you have another 35. So 5 goes into 35 7 times. And that leaves you with nothing left over. So if you were to subtract 35, you would get 0. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay, so 7 does not go into 6, but 7 goes into 63 almost. 7 multiplied by 9 is going to give you exactly 63. Subtract that and you have nothing left over. 63 minus 63 is 0. Drop down your 7. You can't be done yet because you still have a 7 on the end. Drop down your 7. 7 goes into 7 one time. If I were to subtract 7 from 7, oh no, I would be left with 0, which is what you want to be left with. There are no remainders. Okay, 4 goes into 5 one time. 4. So 5 minus 4 gives you 1. This is not working. Okay. 5 minus 4 gives you 1. Drop down your 6. 4 goes evenly into 16 because 4 times 4 is 16. So your 4 goes on top. Subtract 16, which brings you to 0, but we still have this number. So drop it all the way down. And 4 goes into 4 once. That should have been review. So make sure you have all of this copied down on the top. If you need to pause it, go ahead because I'm going to move on to the next 3. Okay. So 34.64 divided by 8. This is what goes inside the doghouse. So this number is being divided by this number. So you would have to set it up exactly, and I have it on the side, exactly as I have right here. 34.64 in the doghouse, 8 on the outside. So 8 cannot go into 3, so you have to divide 34 by 8. 34 and 8. So 8 will go into 34 4 times, but 8 times 4 is only 32. So you subtract, and that leaves you 2. Drop down your 6. Just don't even worry about the decimal. You drop down your 6. And you look at it as 26, not 2.6. But since you crossed over your decimal, you need to quickly put a decimal in your answer before you forget about it. Again, once you cross over your decimal, so we crossed it here when we dropped down the 6, you have to put a decimal in your answer. So think of it as 26 though. 8 goes into 26 3 times, and that's not exactly 26, it'll be 24. So you have to subtract. It's the same process. You just have to remember to put the decimal in your answer. 26 minus 24 is 2. Drop down your very last number. 8 goes into 24 evenly with 3. Okay. Now this one is a little bit more confusing. You have 4 divided by 4,000. So the whole number 4 goes inside the doghouse and 4,000 goes outside. Now this looks weird because I already have the answer, so I've already added all my zeros. But pay attention. 4,000 does not go into 4. So I put a 0. I've already crossed over my decimal, so I put the decimal in my answer. Now, whenever it looks like this and 4,000 didn't go into 4, you can add zeros behind the decimal. Because 4 as a whole number could have multiple zeros behind the decimal. It doesn't matter. They could not be in front of, in between the 4 and the decimal, because that would be 40. But 4.0 is the same thing as the whole number 4. So I put this first 0 here, and I was just looking at 40. Well, 4,000 still doesn't go into 40, so I put a 0. Then I tried another 0. Now I have 400. 4,000 still does not go into 400, so I put a 0. And then I had again 4 with a third 0, so now I'm looking at 4,000. Well, 4,000 can go into 4,000 exactly one time. So that one was probably the most confusing type of scenario you'll run into when working with dividing decimals by whole numbers. Okay, number 15. Oh, back to 14. A note that I made that you should probably write on your paper is that you have to keep adding decimal. You have to add a decimal and keep adding zeros until it works. S is not supposed to be there. Okay, so we have 44.90 divided by 5. 5 doesn't go into 4, but 5 can go into 44 8 times, which leaves you with 40. I subtracted the 4, and then I had to drop down my 9, but I crossed over the decimal point, so I put my answer, or put the decimal in my answer. 5 will go into 49 9 times, which leaves you 45. Subtract, which leaves you with 4. Drop down the 0. Now I have 40. And 5 can evenly go into 40 8 times. And that means I'm done. Okay, make sure your notes look like this. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask now. And then you're going to do the partner activity with the class. So when you finish this, if we're not done yet as a class, then you can participate and maybe answer some questions. Other than that, this goes into your notebook. It gets glued into your notebook. Make sure you still have your foldable because we'll be working with your foldable tomorrow. And then wait for us to move on to the partner activity.